lose his purpose, become a Ronin, a samurai without a master. I can end your eternity, make you mortal. There's a sickness that freezes the heart. The blackness and the dark.
Thank you. Okay, everyone, here is a Peter from TMH, which stands for the metal heartbeat in Polish, in my native language. It's Metalowe, Bicie, Serca. This is a blog about rock and metal music, and today my guest is Mike Ledet from Bushido Code, from Pennsylvania, am I right?
Well, Pennsylvania and North Carolina, yeah.
Okay, Mike, so there's a tradition in my interviews that a guest can speak about himself freely, like 2-3 sentences. It's up to you.
Okay, I'm Mike. I sing for Bushido. I've been playing metal and hardcore for 25 years. We started this band in hopes to write a traditional thrash album, a crossover thrash hardcore album, and I think we succeeded at that. And we can't wait to get out to Europe and play for you guys as soon as possible. So.
Okay, Mike. Bushido Code is inspired by traditional samurai code. Why do you, as a band, interested in such, I may say, far distant topic as a Japanese word culture?
Well, we started the band. You know, we all grew up in tattoo shops, as you can tell, getting tattooed and stuff. So the Japanese art and the history of the samurai, we always thought was just so tough and cool, and we have so much respect for their culture and their art. And when we started talking about doing a thrash metal band, I wanted to, and Derek wanted to, bring out the things that we loved as metal bands when we were younger, the imagery and the stories, like with Iron Eddie and, you know, the Megadeth covers. And, you know, we wanted to be fun and interesting and have that imagery attached to it without being a little different. I mean, nobody really did the samurai kind of respect thing except for bands like Marauder and different bands like that. So we wanted to kind of use that as a backdrop to something a lot cooler. And I, you know, we used this Daishi character and create like our own little world that we could write in and have fun in and talk about real life issues, but use this chaotic, you know, tough samurai as a backdrop. So, I mean, that was the idea behind it.
Yeah, and I think this is a kind of thinking to be characteristic. Like when I saw the cover, I thought, oh, that's the Bushido Code.
Yeah, exactly. That was the whole idea. I mean, when we did the first EPs, we wrote each song about one of the virtues of the samurai, and so when we did the Dying Virtues and we wrote all those, we were like, you know, where we're going to go from next, and then the idea came up for the Ronin, and I was like, oh my God, here we go, you know. So we're just going to keep that kind of fun thing going. But if you listen to the songs in the backdrop, there's some real life issues in there, and there's like things involved as a stepping stone. So make it interesting and fun and a little bit nerdy, you know.
Okay, do you remember the beginning, like this few years ago when you just thought about being Bushido Code before Dying Virtues, which is your first mini album?
Well, yeah. This is actually an idea from Derek. Derek is the founding member of Bushido. He was in Furia 5 and In the Eyes of and stuff. And we talked about, me and Derek have been best friends forever, 20 years. And Derek came to me and said, hey, look, I'm going to do one more band. It's the last band I'm ever going to do. This is it. And he's always been a big metalhead. So he's like, this is exactly what I want to do. And at first I was like, I don't care what it is. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, he's just, you know, friends wanting to play in the band with other friends. And we didn't care about the distance between us because I live in North Carolina and they live in Pennsylvania, which is like 9 hours away driving. So we decided that we were going to go ahead and do it. And And when they sent me the music, I was like, oh, okay, so we're going to play like old thrash metal. All right. I thought it was going to be something else, but it ended up being one of the coolest experiences that I've had. And it was a lot of fun, man. It's been a blast since we started. So can't be more happy, really.
Yeah, totally get it. And now I can truly say the difference in your music between thrash and between crossover, because it seems to be strongly really connected, and it gives you a unique style.
Yeah, and what's funny about that is that we didn't do that purposely. We went out to write a metal album. That was our goal. It was like, we want to write a thrash metal record, straight metal. And then, we are who we are. I mean, every guy in this band has been in a few pretty popular hardcore bands in America, and so it was like, it just comes out of us naturally, but it ends up sounding unique, which makes it cool, you trap lightning in a bottle, it's kind of situation,
Can you recall some of these hardcore bands? Because I'm not sure which one we are talking about.
Okay, so I was in Inertia, Flame and Choose Your Weapon, and in Paid in Full. Derek was in Fury of 5, In the Eyes of. Kyle was in X Represent X, and Sean and Rocco were in a band called Dementor. So a couple of us have been to Europe, and like Kyle was just in Europe, I think a couple years ago with X Represent X. So, we all, we've all toured Fury of 5. So we've all toured around, actually I went to Europe singing for Lifeless on the last tour that they did over there. So, we all kind of been around. So it was bringing that history of what we did into what this has become. And, it's a little bit different, and it's kind of hard for us too, a little bit, because you kind of get thrown to that hardcore market when really we're just a metal band. So we're trying to find our way through that metal market, and it's been a little bit rough. But you guys help a lot, doing stuff like this. So
thank you very much. I'm always trying to find the unique bands, no matter how popular they are. I'm just trying to find unique music, and every band has a story or just a way of creating music. How do creating of music looks in Bushido Code? Like, hey guys, I've got a idea about the song, and the other members help to develop it, or just you're making some kind of jamming session and it comes out? How does it look like in a Bushido Code?
Oh, well, with us, it's actually kind of unique. It's something a little bit different. Derek writes a bulk load of the songs musically. He writes, here's kind of like the song. Then he'll bring it to the guys, and they'll kind of chip at it, and then they'll send me the music, and I write the majority of lyrics, and Derek will pitch in and with ideas and stuff too. But I came up with the storyline, and he writes the music, and we run it back and forth. We're constantly communicating. Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? But what's cool about Bushido, what makes it work, is that there's not a lot of people, not a lot of guys in the band are trying to step out and be like, I want to write this or I want to write that. It's a lot of everybody just does their job. My job is to write lyrics and create the stories. So when they send me music, I try not to mess with as much as possible. Try not to mess with the song itself. Okay, this is the song they gave me. Let me see what I can do to make this better. And that's kind of how the chemistry's worked so far. Derek, like I said, writes 90% of the song, and then the rest of the guys will put in their input when they're jamming it, and then they'll record it, send it to me, and then me and Derek talk about the storyline. Like, we're already talking about the new record. We're already talking about where we're going to go next. So that's pretty much the process.
Okay, no, thank you very much. It's really interesting process. In every band it looks a little bit different. Did you have an opportunity to play a lot of concerts or just local tours?
Well, we haven't, when we put the record out, it was in the middle of COVID, and everything was locked down. So we just had a CD release for the record like 5 months. We released it 5 months ago. Our CD release was last weekend. So we just haven't had a chance. Things were looking like they were opening back up in America, but now it's kind of looking a little bit bleak again. So we really haven't had a chance. The goal is to get out in December and do a small tour, and then we signed with Stronger Booking in Europe, so we're hoping that we can get out to Europe next year, but we're just not sure yet. I mean, everything seems like it was getting better, and now it seems like it's getting worse. So we're going to do everything we can. That's our goal, is to get to Europe, because we feel like our band will do pretty well over there. You guys love metal, so we want to try to get out there and give you guys some good thrash metal,
Definitely the thrash metal, metalcore, these so-called subgenres are really popular, at least I think in Eastern Europe, because we've got bands like Ginger from Ukraine, which is extremely popular here.
It's so good, right? One of the best. Oh man, she's an incredible singer. She's in something else, man.
I saw them once in Warsaw, and they were pretty amazing. So I think that Bushido Code should have really warm welcome here in Eastern Europe.
That's my hope, man. I can't wait to get over there and find out.
Okay, now my personal question for you. What do you think about this whole process of vaccination and vaccines against COVID-19? What is your opinion about it?
Well, in America, it's so aggressively, it's gotten to the point here in America where it's like people are so left and so right on this. Like, they're just like, I personally have been vaccinated, but I personally vaccinated, but I know people who have been vaccinated and gotten sick. I think that I don't really know what the best answer to the vaccination is. I do not agree with governments forcing people to get it, because I'm punk rock in my nature, so it's like, you ain't gonna tell me what to do, you know what I mean? I think you forcing people to do it is not an option. But at the same time, if this pandemic grows to something even bigger and that's the only way to solve it, then that's another discussion. It's a really tough situation, to be honest with you. I do believe in science. I do believe in guys who go to school their whole lives that are telling you should go get a vaccination. I tend to trust those people. I don't tend to trust my government necessarily, but and that's the punk rock in me. But at the same time, it's a tough time we live in. Personally, I got vaccinated. Personally, I've not gotten sick. So I think I made the right move. But if you chose not to, I think that's your right, and I back you. You know what I mean? So it's tough, man. It really is.
Yeah, here in Poland it's also a hot topic, and I think that the music which I love, metal, gives you a freedom of choice. Metal was always a music for free people, so I think you're going to vaccinate yourself. Okay, you are already vaccinated. Okay, you don't want to, it's okay. It's not me to judge you, to blame you that you're guilty or not. And I know the extreme right hand which wanna blame people for not vaccinating, and extreme left hand which wanna to destroy the vaccines point, and both points of view are madness for me.
Yeah, it's a simple choice. Like in America, people try to like compare mask wearing to wearing a Jewish star during World War II. And I thought that was the most insulting madness I have ever heard in my life. Because how can you compare wearing a mask to mass genocide? And I brought the point to somebody the other day. It was like, people in Japan before the pandemic wore masks because they're polite people. They're polite in nature. So it's like, look, if you want to wear a mask, don't want to wear a mask, it's your choice. But don't turn it into something like that. I mean, that's crazy. That's lunacy. You know what I mean? If anything, do it to be polite. You know what I mean? If anything else, just be polite. And I never understood it, but it's a slippery slope when you start talking about forcing people to do something. You don't force me to do anything. You know what I mean? I do it for the choice of my own choice, but I believe. So if you want to bring that mess, then you better be ready. So.
Once I heard a Polish punk quotation, my freedom is ending when your fist is touching my nose.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how it runs out here. But yeah, exactly.
Now
it's a tough situation, and we're living in a crazy time. So we really got to start caring about one each other. That's the problem. People are so worried about fighting one another when we should really just come together. This is the time when we need to come together the most. I mean, in 9/11 in America was united in that tragedy. And that's a problem. I think the world needs to be united and figure out the best solution, but that hasn't worked yet. So
yeah, even Creator released their newest singles with sadly title 666 World Divided.
Yeah, that's where we're at. I mean, fast, you know what I mean? So all we can do is, you know, watch out for our family, watch out for our friends, and try to lead by example. That's my goal. You know what I mean?
Okay, now Mike, slightly lighter topic. Your favorite artist, who inspired you to start creating music, such as the Bushido Code and your earlier projects?
Well, I mean, for me, singing was always Chuck Billy from Testament and Barney Greenway from Napalm. Those were like the bands I grew up like idolizing. You know, well, okay, so it's kind of a funny story. Chuck Billy, I wanted to be Chuck Billy, but I could sing like that, so I ended up singing like Barney from Napalm. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the music I grew up on. I grew up in, actually, I'm not from North Carolina. I grew up in South Louisiana. So there was bands from that area that I loved, like Pantera was around from that area, and a band called Acid Bath, which my cousin played bass for, and he passed away. So, but you know, there's bands like that, but mainly just like Testament, mostly Testament. I love that band.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard about very popular festival in Poland, Poland Rock Festival, or called in the past.
Yeah,
Woodstock. Please speak again, because I didn't hear you.
I said, hopefully they'll let us play that one day. Yes, that's
okay.
One of the festivals on my...
And there's a legal process against Polish Woodstock with American owners, but it was really kind of a fun that American Woodstock just split up and Poland Rock kept going. And the interesting thing that the last show before the pandemic, the big show on Poland Rock, which I saw, was Testament, Chuck Billy.
So good, bro. They're so good. You know, we have this big debate in America with all my metal friends where it's like, you know, the big four, you know, Testament, Megadeth. I mean, I'm sorry, not Testament, Anthrax, Megadeth, Slayer, and Metallica. And I was like, it really should be the big five. You know what I mean? Because Testament, to me, I mean, they have literally the best singer in metal, the best guitarist in metal, the best drummer in metal. I mean, to me, they're one of the best bands of all time. But my friends all get mad at me when I say that, but I don't care.
Yeah, they've got one of the best musicians like Chuck Billy on vocals, Alexander Skolnick on guitar, and Eric Peterson.
Yeah, Eric Peterson's the best riff writer, rhythm guitarist out there. Alex, I don't even go there. But their drummer, their new drummer, in Hoagland, I mean, come on, he's something else. It's my wife. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. What are your plans as a Bushido Code for next few years? What are you planning to do?
I think our big plan is to try to get out there and support this record. I mean, we really love this Ronin record. We feel like it really kind of, I mean, we couldn't be prouder of it. And I mean, I'm being honest when I say this. The 20 years of me playing music, this is, I think, one of the best records I've ever put out. And I'm really excited and I love this record. But we're already working on something new. We want to get out there and play in the next year. We want to get to Europe if that's possible in the next year or so. But we're also working on a cool idea for the new record, which is going to be a little, if you believe it or not, maybe even a little bit darker than this record. So it's going to be, we're going to do some, I'll give you a little insight. I think we're going to do an album about short stories. So it's going to be a little bit different. It's kind of like a storyteller kind of thing. It's going to be cool, I think, you know.
Kind of a concept album?
I don't want to give too much away.
It's a kind of...
They're all kind of concept albums. Yeah, they're all kind of like that. The Ronin was, the new record's going to be like that. That's the idea, is create these novels. You know what I mean? It's, I don't know. It's super nerdy, like I say, super metal nerdy.
Okay, Mike. Many outside persons who aren't listening to metal or who are just listening to heavy metal thrash, which is now so extreme, thought that hardcore singers or hardcore singers with parts of death metal are just killing their throats. Are you killing your throat, or are you trying to practice and protect in some way your throat?
Oh, I've been doing this forever, man. It's really a technique. I practice constantly on it. That's why I have, not like a lot of singers, I have a lot of range. I can go super high and super low because I've been developing that over years. I don't even get hoarse, really. I've been just doing it for such a long time. No, it's a technique. It's a real talent to it. Yeah, you're talking about that band Ginger. She has one of the best screaming voices I've ever heard. I mean, but her singing voice is immaculate. I don't know how she does that, how she keeps that training. And then, because I've been trying to sing more on the new, like if you hear on 1600, me and Kyle, we try to sing on the record, and I'm going to be doing that a little bit more. But her voice is like an angel, and then she'll go, just blast out these super death metal vocals. And I'm like, what is that? And it sounds amazing. So, it's a real technique to it, man. It's not clearing your throat, man. You got to beat your throat up for 5 or 6 years before you can even try to do something like that. So,
okay, so it is like a clash of the two worlds. Like from one side you've got a clean voice, and from the second side you are now rammed down by a metal fist.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
Mike, many older stars like Rob Halford from Kiss or Gene Simmons from Kiss are saying that Spotify, Tidal and Apple Music, all streaming apps are killing the rock music, the albums, the sale of the albums. What do you think? Is the streaming music some kind of a kill or nail to the coffin, or is it just a new way for small bands to be known in the world, to have new listeners which won't be in normal circumstances available because they are too little as a band?
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think that I love Spotify in the sense that I can listen to any band I want to anytime I want to and hear bands that I might not never hear. I think that for Spotify, for a band like us, gives you, a person who lives half a world away, an opportunity to hear a band, hear us, and because we're not signed to a major. I mean, we're signed to a good label. We're not signed to a major label that would put it in your local music store. So I think that's great. But at the same time, I do see what they're saying in the sense that they live in these giant houses and they made a living off playing music. That's not really an option anymore. Not like it was, like we have a good amount of downloads, but we haven't sold barely any CDs, you know what I'm saying? So the product isn't there for us as a band. But I think that if people take the time to like you on Instagram and follow you and like your music and stream it and stuff like that, I think for us, just people listening to it, because I gave up on trying to make a career on playing music. I got a real job. You know what I mean? But I love it so much, and I've dedicated and sacrificed a lot of my life to do it. So just to have an opportunity for a young guy like you to call me and say, hey man, I really like your band. Could you get on my little podcast and do this with me? I'm honored. It's exactly why I do it. You know what I mean? Because there's no money in it anymore. So it's about trying to get, when you scratch all that away, then you're just putting out what you love. And I think that that's what bands like Gene Simmons from Kiss is talking about, was like he made a product to sell. We made something we love, and we're trying to get it out there. If we can make money off of it, great. But the idea is to get it out there. So a little bit both ways.
Okay, so your album are in the most part concept album. Do you think that such hard topics as religion views, political belief, sexual orientation should be present in metal rock lyrics? What do you think? They should be present? The artist should be talking about really hard stuff?
I think that a song should be about what's important to you. I think that anything you write is about something you care about. I mean, like in the record, we've talked about environmental issues. We talked about political corruption. You might not see it. You got to dig for it. That's the fun part. But we talk about on this new record, a big subject in America is sexuality, and that's probably going to be something we throw in there. Look, man, I think that if you're not talking about something important, then there's no point in talking. You have people's attention. There's bands out there like I love, like Clutch, for example. Like it's a rock band. I'm sure you heard of them.
Again,
they're great.
Can you repeat because something cut it?
Oh yeah, no problem. The band Clutch.
Okay, got it.
As a band I love, but they're not very. All their songs are kind of a little bit wacky, a little bit funny. Good songs, great band, but I always never really got that idea. I always like to write about stuff that made a difference, stuff that I cared about. I can't write about something that's just only fantasy driven. It's got to be something that I believe in. And even in the song The Ronin, it's about yourself, really. It's about your guilt of the Ronin is a character that I created from myself, and I said, well, if I fall short of being a just man, what would that look like? It's this guy's gonna cut your head off every time you make a mistake. So it's like, I think that if you're not writing about stuff that's personal and important, there's no point in writing. That's just my opinion. You know what I mean?
So you should stand behind your lyrics. You should practice what you preach.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Like I think that the one thing that hardcore gave me was the will to believe what I believe. So it's like, when people, even with going back to vacciners, right? The people that are anti-vaccine versus people who are vaccine. I've had friends of mine who were like, you're a coward for getting the vaccine. And I was like, dude, if you call me a coward one more time, we're going to have a real problem. You know what I'm saying? So it's that kind of a mentality. Hardcore taught us that. Hardcore was like, yo, I'll stand here in opposition to you no matter what the cost. And I think that is an important part of life. I think that you have to stand for what you believe in, but don't just say it behind a keyboard. Stand it in life. You know what I mean? And that's why, I hate fascism. You know what I mean? I've hated fascism since I was young, and Nazis and that whole thing, and I'll stand behind that any day of the week. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing,
Okay, so I may say you are like a Ronin. You are a warrior without a master.
That's it. 100%.
Anyway, you said you hate fascism. You had such a stance. What do you think in this context about Black Lives Matter, this all political move in America?
I believe there's villains in every goodness. You know what I'm saying? There's good actors and bad actors. I think that the Black Lives Matter movement matters. I think that what they're standing for is important. But I think that extremism towards that, is not good. Same thing with with anything but racism. I can't stand racism. But even Black Lives Matters has racist inside their group. So any form of racism, I'm anti-racist. We've always been unity. Hardcore that's what we stand for. You know what I mean? So my hardcore roots are the base of my life. I can't change that now. I'm too old to change that. So I believe in what they stand for. The extremism in it, the racism in it, I don't agree with. Same thing. Anybody else, like we used to tell people all the time when we were coming up, the Nazis were a problem in the South, and we definitely had our time with them, but they believed in what they believed in. So you get a degree of respect, an inch of respect, the fact that they believed what they believed and they were willing to stand for it, even though we were not going to stand for it. So you get it, but at the same time, it's like, hey, believe what you want to believe, but don't you dare try to pour your belief into my life if I don't want it. That's where the line's drawn,
There's I heard a quotation once which I really like. It is good if your religion, your beliefs force you to do something, but it is worse if your religion is trying to influence on my life. It's trying to force me to do something.
Right, in America, and I'm sure you heard of Martin Luther King. He's one of my favorite people of all time. And he had a speech that went something like, "We must learn to live together as brothers or we will perish together as fools." And I've always tried to live by that. It's like, look, man, if we do this, things make sense. If we do this, it will never make sense. So, we got to try to figure it out somehow.
Of course, and metal taught me that diversity isn't something bad. It is something which is wonderful in this music, in this community, rock, metal, punk, hardcore, grunge community. It is like a one united family.
Right. It doesn't care if you're black or white or Japanese or boy or girl or you don't identify as a word. It doesn't care. It's metal is metal. And it's a place where people who didn't belong somewhere else had a place to belong. Hardcore's the same way. Hardcore metal is the same way. It gave me a place to become the man I am today. It's not a fashion trend. It's not, because I want to wear this cool Slayer shirt for a week. It's nothing like that. It's a way of life. And when people accept it like that, it becomes this beautiful, powerful thing that will be with you for the rest of your life. Because you don't have to pay a membership. You don't have to, be, have long hair or short hair or whatever. Just be you. That's what we want. Just be you. That's what's cool about it.
So you may say that hardcore metal raised you in some way.
Oh, it 100% did. I mean, I was a homeless kid living in South Louisiana. I came from a broken family, and bands like Suicidal Tendencies saved my life. Literally gave me a place to belong when I had nothing. Had nobody, nothing. And it gave me a place to belong, and it gave me a place to believe in myself and find myself, and a community that I can live in. And from that community, I built a family that is worldwide. You know what I mean? I can get on a plane right now and fly to Europe, and I have a place to stay. And how can you beat that? Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
There is no way to beat it. Anyway, coming back to the core, Mike, what is your favorite part of a live shows? Because it is essential of whole metal music, the live shows. What is your favorite part as an artist?
You talking about live shows?
Live shows, yeah, of Bushido Code.
Oh, dude, that's the best part, man. Just having a kid you've never met before, either in the crowd singing your lyrics, or walking up to you and just being like, your band is the coolest band I've ever heard in a long time. That alone is worth it. For me, playing live is what it's all about. I love playing live. Bushido, not to toot our own, but Bushido is such a good band live. Because we don't get to practice a lot together. We only get to play shows because I live so far away. So when we do get together, it's like I heard the band for the first time. So it's like, oh, it's so cool. You're not beating yourself up in a practice room, playing these songs over and over and over again. So like when you see us live, I guarantee you we haven't practiced that set. You know what I mean? So, that's what makes it so cool for me, because it's like every time I hear the band, I'm like, God, this band's so good. I'm like the worst member in this band. Everybody in this band is so good. So it's like it's kind of fun for us. It's almost like seeing your band for the first time every time. So it's a lot of fun, man.
And it requires also discipline by yourself to practice every day. To be ready to this set.
Oh, you wouldn't believe how bad these guys are on each other about that. Like my bass player, Sean, he'll call me up like, "Are you practicing, man? What's up? You practicing?" Because he'll call me all the time. He's the worst about it. But dude, that's what makes it work. That's what makes it work. Just because I'm 40 years old and I've been doing this for a long time doesn't mean anything. I still got to practice just like everybody else.
To don't get out of a shape, you have to, how may I say, improve your skills over and over. We're learning for the whole of our lives.
Yeah, exactly. You got to keep it pushing.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mike. It was really inspiring interview for me, and I think the same goes for you. Thanks all of you viewers and listeners. And now, as a traditional for me, I may say that our guest will say something for the end, just any kind he sees to say goodbye.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out and watching this. Hey man, I want to thank you the most. Guys like you are the reason we do this, and we keep our music spreading. Is, you know, from every person that finds a time to take to talk to us, will always find time to take to talk to you. I can't wait to see you guys in Poland, and I appreciate it so much, man. Love you guys, for real.
Okay, now it's my traditional way to say goodbye. Stay tuned, stay true, stay heavy. Okay, I'm ending the recording.